What's up, everyone, and welcome to Making the Shift for Autistic Kids.
We're an SLP couple from California with 4 boys.
And we're here every week to bring you neuroaffirming tips, tricks, and tools.
Are you ready to make the shift?
Let's do this.
Hello. Welcome to Making the Shift. Today we are talking all about how we can help our kids, our students, to be more regulated in the classroom simply by thinking more about how we are creating their daily routines. Questions I get a lot are, but I see kids in a group setting. How can I possibly accommodate every child's individual sensory need when I'm in a group setting? Whether you're a therapist who is going into a classroom and doing full group activities, or you're pulling kids out for groups, or if you're a teacher who obviously has a group of students that you are responsible for every day. And I think one of the biggest barriers that people have to using sensory strategies and thinking more about sensory is, but how is this going to affect the whole group? How is this going to affect the whole class? And it's funny because although, yes, we all have individual sensory needs, a lot of sensory activities will benefit a child no matter what their sensory needs are, right? Our goal is to help kids to remain regulated. And what kid doesn't benefit from getting more movement throughout their day, right? What kid doesn't benefit from having opportunities to calm down or decompress, right? These are things that benefit all kids. And I really believe that if we just put a little bit more energy into the front end of planning, we will see it pay off in the back end of our kids being more regulated in the classroom. So an analogy I always use is a seesaw, because this is so easy. So if you're a parent and you could talk to, think about this in terms of your child, or if you're a teacher, think about it in terms of your students, professional in terms of your kids, right? But if we think of a child's regulation as a seesaw, our goal is for them to remain balanced as much as possible, right? We want them to be regulated. And when their seesaw's balanced, this is when they are going to be in their most ready to learn, regulated state. This is where we want them for learning. Okay, so doesn't matter if they're at home, plop down on the TV, and they're not in their, most regulated, ready to learn state. No, of course we want them to be comfortable, but at that point after school, they might be like drowsy, they might be tired, they might just want to just chill out, not, be answering a bunch of questions or be put in a learning opportunity. So of course, this is very much dependent on where they are and then what state we want them in to be in at the time. Okay, that being said, our goal of school is academics, social, right? So to get our kids regulated enough so that they are learning, and to get them regulated enough so that they are able to enjoy socializing and being around their peers. So if we think about their regulation as a seesaw, our goal is to keep them balanced as much as possible. Now, I like to think of a tipped seesaw as representing a dysregulated child. So something happens to them, they might get dysregulated really slowly, they might get dysregulated really quickly, but our goal whenever they're dysregulated is to bring them back to center, because that's where we need them to be in that regulated, most ready to learn state. So right now, it feels we are very much in the business of solving the dysregulation problem, meaning a kid is dysregulated, what can we do to help them? We're really not focusing that much on how can we be more proactive with sensory needs. And that's something that I just preach over and over, is how can we be more proactive and less reactive? But because right now it's very much about reactive. It's very much, oh, you look dysregulated, go to the calming corner and come back when you feel better, right? But like if the child's day was set up differently so that they never needed that calming corner because there were activities that were already given to them or provided for them in their day, keeping them regulated, then we wouldn't have to go send a kid to the calming corner. Not that that's not great. Like, I'm all for a calming corner, right? But the point is that what can we do to try to keep our seesaws more balanced throughout the day, right? Because we don't want any of our kids to live in a state where it's just constant dysregulation, fix it, dysregulation, fix it. They're not going to feel safe that way. They're not going to be comfortable. They're not going to be trusting of their environment. That's not the place, metaphorical place we want them living in. So we want them to be as regulated as possible, as often as possible. So with that, this is where changing daily routines can really come into play. And the reason I wanted to talk about it specific to the classroom is because that's where I get the most pushback is, but we have 20 kids in the class, but we have 30 kids in the class, right? Or I'm in a group of 5, I'm in a group of 6. So how can we help our kids to maintain that more balanced, regulated state of regulation, keep their seesaws balanced when they're in these bigger groups? And it's really, the first step is as simple as thinking about what their routine looks like in the group for that day and building in opportunities. So today I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite activities. I pulled some stuff from our clinic to show you, and I'm also just going to be telling you about a lot of the group activities that I love to do. These are activities that I've done in group settings before in schools. I've done them in group settings here. I've recommended them to teachers. I've gone into schools after recommending them to get to see the teacher play them out. And these are things that are truly not just regulating, but really fun for kids. And learning is supposed to be fun, right? So why not? So the 2 things that you really want to think about, and if you've watched my content or trainings or read my book, you've probably heard me share this analogy before, but we want to think about if this type of activity is going to be more of a calming activity, right? More soothing for their nervous system, or if it's going to be what we call an alerting activity. So that's going to be something that's more exciting and is going to give them more energy. And sometimes we get in the cycle of, oh, this kid needs movement. I'm just going to give them alerting activity after alerting after alerting after alerting, right? But really, we need to help them to come back into that regulated, more calm state. So I believe that in any classroom, kids should have different parts of the day where they might say they just went out for recess, right? So they're kind of like riled up. They just got a lot of movement in, and now they're trying to get back into the mindset of being able to stay seated for class. That might be a good opportunity to do an activity that's going to be more calming for the whole class. Or if they just did something that was really demanding and stressful or something for the kids, they might want to follow that up with something that's more calming. Or say they just did an activity where the kids were seated for 30 minutes straight, that would be a great opportunity to now throw in an alerting activity, right? So you really have to think about this. It obviously is very, very specific to the group or the classroom, but I want to talk to you about different activities you can choose in each bucket. So things that you can do that would be more calming for the class, and then things that you could do that would be more alerting. So let's start with calming. Okay, so I actually brought this. You may have heard this. Okay, so these are Yoga-rilla cards. They are yoga positions for kids. And you've probably heard a lot of like breathing and mindfulness. Obviously, we know that's good for us. We know that's calming. That stuff is awesome to do as a group. I personally love these cards, which you obviously don't need the card. You could just do the activity without using the card. But I love the card because they're funny and it's a gorilla doing yoga poses. Like, what kid isn't into that and doesn't think that's funny, right? So the way I actually like to use these in therapy in groups is I will have a child come up and pick a card, and then I'll have them describe to the group what to do with their body. So it's a really great opportunity for a language building activity as well in there if they're describing what to do. And of course, as an SLP utilizing these. That's something I can't help but be thinking about all the time. Okay, so like clock hands, right? And the gorilla, he's leaning over. We have to bend our right leg, put our arm on our knee. We have to reach over, reach as high as we can. And these are just so great. We know stretching is great. We know that a lot of teachers will often say like, okay, let's take a 1-minute stretch break. And then as a student, I remember feeling so uncomfortable, like, what are we doing here? Right? It would have been so much easier if the teacher had been walking us through exactly what they wanted us to do in that stretch break. So stopping and doing 2 or 3 yoga positions is an awesome way to just help kids reset, feel a little bit more calm before moving on to the next lesson or activity. So something else that's really, really cool is the app Headspace. And if you're an educator, you get it for free. I don't get it for free. Still promoting it. I don't get it for free because I don't have a school email address, but Chris gets it for free with his school email address. So if you have a school email address, you could get it for free. Otherwise, I can't remember how much it is, maybe $50 a year or something, but we use it so much in our clinic and at home. And what's so cool about the Headspace app is that, first of all, they have a bunch that are Sesame Street. So they have videos. I will use this even during virtual therapy sessions where I have kids, if they're working on their diaphragmatic breathing, we'll get one of those videos where it's like Elmo is teaching you how to take a breath. It's really awesome. And there's just so many free videos on there that walk you through different calming activities or just things that are emotions. Like, emotions are, your feelings are like clouds, and clouds move over your head. And sometimes you're going to feel that so strongly, and then the cloud will drift away and you're not going to feel that way anymore. There's just so much good stuff on there. There's plenty of lessons that are 1 minute or less. There's plenty that are 5 minutes or less. And those are really, really great. So if you're thinking, yes, I want to incorporate more breathing and more mindfulness into my group activities, get the Headspace app, because you won't even have to think about what to do. You could just play a video and then you guys can even have a conversation about it. It's really awesome. Something else that is super, super calming for a lot of kids is drawing or coloring or doodling. And it's funny because when Chris was creating his neurodiversity affirming activity book, we were talking about how great that is. He was including different like coloring pages in there, because how cool would it be for every homework sheet or activity sheet or worksheet that a teacher hands out in class for there to be like a little picture for them to color if they wanted. I mean, I have my own son. If he's stressed and he comes home and he starts drawing, it calms him down so quickly. When I want my kids to calm down before going to bed, I put them in their room and I open this huge art thing of like a million different colors and crayons and markers and have them draw for 15 minutes. So any kind of drawing is so easy to incorporate into the activity. It could even be like, okay, now we just went through this story. Now draw a picture of what you think the main character looks like on the back, right? It could be anything. So drawing, coloring, super, super calming. Okay. And the last one I wanted to mention for good group activities for calming is music. And this is something Chris and I talk about all the time because he uses it a lot when he goes into classrooms and does big group sessions, is just having like calming music playing in the background. And I know a lot of teachers have gotten really good at that when kids are doing schoolwork or things in the classroom, to be playing calming music. But any kind of, calming, soothing, slow music is going to help to create a very nice calming atmosphere for our kids. Okay, let's talk about some ways for kids to get more learning input or more movement into their day. And again, there are endless possibilities. Obviously, I'm just giving you like the top recommendations I have because I've seen them work so well in groups, but I'm sure there's like endless possibilities, right? Just trying to give you guys a few that are meaningful and work really well and are effective. Okay. One is having the whole class dance. I get it's some of these are better for certain ages. Like if you're in a high school classroom, maybe it's going to be a little bit harder to convince them to dance, right? I mean, Chris does this a lot in his high school, but totally depends on the students. But I love doing group dance activities. We'll do that in groups here where we have one of the kids choose a song and then they all get to have a dance break to that song. Okay, there is this amazing video, and I always show it when I'm presenting, and I can't probably for copyright reasons be putting it on our channel, but it's called Animal Action, and it's from like the 80s. They have these amazing leotards on, they're all jumping around, they got the 80s hair, and it's this awesome song where they sing and they have an animal and then they tell you what to do. Like, let's hop like the frog, right? And then the whole class stops and hops. So what I do a lot in therapy, just to create more opportunities for back and forth, interaction, is we'll pause the song after an animal and then talk about it or talk about what we want to do next and then go on to the next one. But a classroom teacher could just play this video the whole way through. It's a few minutes, really, really fun, especially for younger kids, and really engaging. Lots of good movement in there. With that, another one is freeze dance. And I feel like this is one of kids' favorite songs, so underutilized. Like, it's definitely, I'm not going to say overrated because I think it's very highly rated because kids love it so much, but I think it's underutilized. And there's so many freeze dance songs out there now. There's even like The Floor is Lava freeze dance songs that a lot of kids love. And all of that can just be such an easy way to stop doing classwork, get up, do a song, and win for everyone because everyone's getting the movement that they need. You may, last website, and then I'll show you some games. You may have heard of the site Go Noodle, which has a ton of free activities. So there's so many things you can do on there. There's dances, there's movement activities. So I went into a kindergarten class where they put a virtual roller coaster on the big projector, and they had all the kids stand up, and like as the roller coaster moved side to side, the kids would sway side to side and bounce, and it was really fun, engaging for kids. And they had just read a chapter on like one of the past presidents, and then the teacher had him get up and do this, right? So it was not anything related to the schoolwork they were doing, but it was awesome. Okay, a couple more things I wanted to show you. If you've never heard of this game, this is only good for small groups. So I want to say like 6 maybe is the max. It's called Hullabaloo. Our box is very broken. So it comes with all these different colored mats you put on the ground and the speaker that tells you what to do. So it will be like, go get on a triangle, get on something red, get on something you eat. And all of the mats have different pictures. I'll put that in my Amazon shop in case you guys want to learn more about it. Okay, I feel like this is really underrated, this game. It's called Seekaboo, and it kind of looks like more of like a compliance-based structured thing, but it's actually, I think it's awesome. Each color is a different category, right? So like vehicles, farm animals, things you wear, and it's like hide and seek, but you put the cards all around the room, you flip them over, and then you run up and you could look to see if you got the card that you were looking for. Okay, really fun for little ones. Again, it could be modified to be good for a big group or a small group. Okay, last thing just to show you, because this looks fun, is often as we could get books, like here's Hungry Caterpillar and the matching felt pieces, we do that as much as we can. I mean, to me, there's just so many incredible opportunities in a classroom to be telling a story and then having kids take turns going around the circle, like next kid gets to grab the piece and go put it on the board. And we know, especially like in preschools, teachers will use a felt board, but just really giving kids a chance to get a lot of movement in. Here's another set we have for Hungry Caterpillar, other little felt pieces. Like these are so fun for kids and get them a lot of movement. So bottom line is setting up the day so that kids are getting opportunities to have moments that are more calming. And I'm not talking about taking 20 minutes out of the math lesson to go do a headspace meditation. I'm talking about 90 seconds, right? So these are things that are so doable. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, we could try structuring classrooms where it was like activity, and then they got to do some kind of sensory break, movement activity, calming activity, and just more of these kind of built into the learning experiences. Obviously, it would be amazing as well. But for the teachers or therapists running groups who are just looking for an easy solution, just activity followed by one of these things we just talked about can help kids so much. You can kind of just base it off of their energy level. Like if you feel like the whole class is antsy and jittery, you might be like, okay, they need to get some movement in. Let's pick something where they can move. Whereas if you feel like the whole class needs something that's going to be more calming for them, then you pick a calming activity, right? It doesn't have to be like every day perfectly laid out. It can be based on the energy that you were feeling from the room that day. So I hope that helps, but I would love if you put in the comments what your favorite things to do during sensory breaks are, and I will link the Amazon store below. If you are an SLP and you do group activities or you want to learn more about incorporating sensory into your sessions, I have a free training. I will link that below. Make sure to go take it. It's like maybe an hour, maybe less. I can't remember. Very, very easy takeaways, how-tos in there. So if you're an SLP, do that. If you're a teacher or you're a parent and you haven't yet read my book, Ready, Set, Connect, I have so many examples in there as well about how you can do this at home and how you can do this in the classroom, how you can do this in different settings. I'll link that as well. So thanks for being here today, and we will see you on the flip side. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Making the Shift. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you could like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Our only goal is to spread neurodiversity affirming approaches all over the world, and we can only do that with your help. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.